Want to speak real English from your first lesson? Sign up for your free lifetime account at EnglishClass101.com.
Hi everybody, welcome back to Ask Alisha, the weekly series where you ask me questions and I answer them. Maybe. First question comes from Inderjeet Singh. Hi Inderjeet. Inderjeet says, how do we use say and said in English? Okay, we use say and said for reports of speech in English. When we use say, we're often using it to talk about something that a person often says. When we use said, we're using it to report something that was in the past. So just a simple neutral report of speech in the past. Let's look at some examples. My boss said I did a great job. My boss said, you did a great job. My parents say I'm a good student. Okay, so you'll notice in these example sentences, especially the first two, there's a very small difference there. Like my boss said I did a good job, and my boss said, comma, quotation marks, you did a good job. When you're reporting speech directly, as in the second example sentence, you can use those quotation marks. That's what I'm doing with my fingers here. Like this is like the open mark and this is the closed mark to make a quote. So when you're doing that, we can use said to report past tense. So this is something that a boss, in this case, said in the past. If I'm not being direct, meaning if I'm not sharing exactly the thing someone said, I can use a pattern like the first example sentence, which was, my boss said I did a great job. So the boss didn't say, I did a great job. The speaker wants to communicate that the boss said that he or she, the speaker, I, did a great job. So the first example is a very common way of reporting this speech indirectly. If you want to directly report speech, you can use a pattern like the second example. The third example sentence, my parents say I'm a good student, is an example of something where we would use the present form of the verb, the present tense form of the verb. So my parents say I'm a good student. So lots of learners ask, like, why don't we use said? My parents said I'm a good student. We use present tense for things that are regular. So for things that happen like maybe every week, for example, or every month, like a regular, like repeating action. So in this case, the speaker's parents say something. So that means this is a regular thing they say. My parents say I'm a good student. This is a regular like thing that they comment about. If it's past tense, my parents said I'm a good student, it sounds like perhaps it was just one time, or maybe when the speaker was a child, this was something that was regularly said. So like they want to communicate more like a past thing, like one time, it's over, it's done. If we want to communicate something like present, happening now, perhaps regularly, we can use the present form. My parents say. Another example of this would be in like business. For example, the CEO says the company is doing well. So here, the CEO says is in present tense, and the kind of reported information is the company is doing well. So the use of the present tense here shows us that this is something the CEO regularly says. This is a regular comment. We know this because it's in present tense. Some other ways that we use this are in like thank yous or in more formal situations, like I want to say thank you. We would use it in that way. Or I want to say goodbye. So we kind of soften those expressions, thank you or goodbye, with I want to say or I'd like to say. So if you're giving like a formal speech, for example, too, you might begin it by saying, may I say a few words? So again, this is just a simple report of speech, a simple neutral way of expressing communication using say in present tense, say or says, or using said for past tense. So I hope that this helps you understand how to use say and said in English. Thanks very much for the question. Okay, let's move on to your next question. Next question comes from Muhammad Abdel Hakim. Hi, Mohammed. Mohammed says, what is the correct use of looking forward to? Is it right to say, I look forward to hearing from you, or I am looking forward to hearing from you? Yep, both are correct. You can use both of these. They're both fine. They communicate the same thing. They have the same level of formality. It's just the speaker's preference. You can choose whatever you prefer. So like, I look forward to seeing you, and I'm looking forward to seeing you. They're both correct. They're both fine. We look forward to having dinner with you, and we're looking forward to having dinner with you. They mean the same thing. I would say perhaps in some less formal situations, we drop the I or the we in the ing pattern. So like instead of saying I'm looking forward to, we might just say looking forward to. So we sometimes do that when we use the ing pattern. So, but to answer your question, they are both correct. You can feel free to choose whichever you prefer. I hope that that helps you. Thanks for the question. Okay, let's move on to your next question. Next question comes from Arjun Singh. Hi again, Arjun. Arjun says, hi Alisha, can you please tell me the difference between expert and perfect? Okay, expert means having a lot of experience with something. To become an expert, you gain skills. So you get like lots of experience, you study things, and you gradually like level up to become an expert. For example, she's an expert programmer, or they're expert negotiators. So that means that they are very good at something because they've practiced a lot, they've gained experience, and they've like worked their way up through many skill levels to become experts at something. The word perfect, however, means something that is flawless. There's no problems with it. It's like pure, it's genuine, it's exactly as it should be. So for example, the weather today is perfect. Our new software is perfect. So we use perfect to mean things that don't have problems at all. So we might use the word perfect to refer to one specific action, like a trick in sports, or maybe like a specific task that someone can do perfectly. But we don't really use the word perfect to talk about the person doing it, because that implies that like they're flawless, which is impossible because we're all humans and we're not perfect. So in sum, expert refers to gaining skills to get something. So we use that to talk about people and their jobs. Perfect refers to something that is flawless. So often it's kind of natural, or just something that doesn't require any skills, but is just great and doesn't have any issues. So I hope that this helps you understand the difference between these two words. Thanks very much for the question. Let's move on to your next question. Next question comes from Demi Wong. Hi, Demi Wong. Demi Wong says, hi Alisha, what is the difference between rise and raise, and how do we use them? Yeah, so the difference here is just in grammatical function. Raise takes a direct object. Rise does not take a direct object. Both verbs just mean to go up. So, for example, raise your hand. So your hand is the direct object of raise in that example sentence. Or he raised the cup above his head. So in that sentence, the object of the verb raise is the cup. So to move the cup above his head, to raise a cup up. In contrast, the verb rise does not take a direct object. For example, the sun rises every morning, and she rose early. There's no direct object in either of those. So when you have a direct object, you can use raise. When you don't have a direct object, you can use rise. I hope that this helps you understand the difference. Thanks very much for the question. Okay, let's move on to your next question. Next question comes from Heverson Silva. Hi, Heverson. Heverson says, when should I use beneath or below? Is there any difference between them? There's not really a difference in meaning, no, it's just formality. We would use beneath in more formal situations, or perhaps like when we're writing poetry. Beneath is actually not so commonly used in everyday American English speech anyway. We most commonly use the word under, actually. So there are quite a few different words that we can use to have this same meaning. We have beneath and below and under and underneath. But of these, the most common is under. So let's take a look at a few sentences that use these. My bag is beneath the desk. My bag is below the desk. My bag is under the desk. Okay, so from these, the most commonly used sentence would be, my bag is under the desk. The next most common would be, my bag is below, and the least common here would be, my bag is beneath the desk. So we don't really use it so much to talk about positioning. We use under more commonly to talk about positioning. So beneath and below share the meaning of being under something, though they're not as common as under. So I hope that this helps you understand the differences between these words. Thanks very much for the question. Okay, that's everything that I have for this week. Thanks as always for sending your questions. Remember, you can send them to me at englishclass101.com/ask-Alisha. Also, if you liked this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and check us out at englishclass101.com for some other things that can help you with your English studies. Thanks very much for watching this week's episode of Ask Alisha, and I will see you again next week. Bye-bye. Want to speed up your language learning? Take your very first lesson with us. You'll start speaking in minutes and master real conversations. Sign up for your free lifetime account. Just click the link in the description.